we'll describe in more detail just a little bit later on as we get into the racing itself.
Yes, indeed. And Vini Fantini in the bright yellow just about to come and do their signing off as Androni Giocattoli. They had a bit of a skirmish yesterday. I've got to tell you, Robbie Hunter was none the line. There's John Degenkolb with his dodgy Tash. Dodgy about his efforts a couple of days ago. So pick your favourite, and in fact try and pick somebody who today might mean more to than others. Mark Cavendish in red, always getting a huge cheer. Bradley Wiggins, well, he's staying where he needs to be, if having a few little bumps along the way. And Laurent Pichon with his bridged jaw, still signing autographs. He's been on their cameras quite a lot. So the pink balloons were underway, and the pink jersey leading everybody off. How much longer will Paolini stay in that leader's jersey is anybody's guess, but we suspect it'd be a pretty good guess if he loses it on the individual time trial, which of course is coming right up today. So out they rolled. Pace was pretty high, and in fact there were a number of early skirmishes that didn't really come to much. Finally, though, a solid group did form that were of no threat to the peloton, and in fact Katusha were not part of the final settlement, if you like, as 6 riders made it stick. Macon Soleil are here. Sadly, Cataneo is not. We lost a couple today, and we've had our tumbles. I've got to tell you as well that some that fell yesterday have succumbed to their injuries, and Lee Howard, it was a broken collarbone after all. So yes, it is a hard surface to meet up with, as many riders have found, and some hard men have decided to go off the front. The leader, not quite sure what that piece of breakdancing was all about, but he is okay and still rolling, thank goodness. And so, our 6 riders up the road finally forming themselves. Back on Soleil here, Pim Lichtert, the Dutch champion. There he is in his navy blue and the starburst of gold that's part of that livery. And as you can see, the gap's starting to just ebb upwards. Got to tell you, 6 minutes and 40 was our last time check. We'll be joining those live in just a few moments' time. And indeed, here they are. There's Lichtert. And indeed, just behind him is the Euskaltel rider just coming through is Tamaridis, our Greek friend, who's been so much a part of their push each day. Lotto Belisolo had a disastrous team time trial, also here with Adam Hansen, a national time trial champion, so somebody who can set a tempo, that's for sure. And done all the Grand Tours. He did all the Grand Tours last year, so not tuck it out, and is here contesting again. There's Androni's Emanuele Sella. Took 4 stage victories in 2008, but then unfortunately for him, and fortunately for the rest of us, he was found out, and they were expunged retrospectively. He's back racing, but always with a little cloud somewhere behind him. Martin Cialinghi from Blanco, also here, just going back to the car for some water. Tour of Belgium winner in 2006. And yes, went well that year as well in Qinghai Lake, and I understand you were rolling then as well.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I was 4th overall, he won it overall, but did beat him in a 2-up sprint on one of the stages, stage 4 or 5, I think.
Well, it's bragging rights there for you, Dan Lloyd. And Dan, of course, joining myself, Carlton Kirby, as we bring you live the Giro d'Italia. It's stage 7 today, and Vini Fantini are on the chase. Why is that then? Well, is it Sant'Ambrogio for me? My private little wager for the whole thing? No.
It's not that private.
It's Danilo De Luca. He's local, and we suspect he may well have something in the back pocket. He's certainly going to be spurred on by the fact that so many fans are going to be cheering him roundly. And there's your average speed today, 40.76 kilometres per hour, much quicker than anyone thought, at least in the early phase.
Yeah, the start was extremely fast. A number of riders having trouble in fact just keeping a hold of the bunch. Really hard on days like this to actually get into the break in the first place, because of all the days so far, I would personally say that this is the one where they had the most chance of staying away. They'll get more chances in the second and third week. And obviously Katusha wants to keep hold of that pink jersey for one more day. They only want to let the right group go up the road, and by that I mean a relatively small group, or at least not too big. And also it was good for them not to let Vinnie Fantini get into the break, because as you can see now, they're controlling things. Rabatini of Vinnie Fantini did try to go across to the break with one other rider, but he wasn't let away by Team Katusha, and thus we've still only got 6 riders up the road, and none of them particularly a threat to the lead of Luca Paolini in the overall competition.
So here are our riders, just one relaying back on after just having a brief moment with the car. He's just dropped back to his own vehicle just to take on a water bottle. 6 riders then up the road. 6 minutes and 36 is their gap just for now. There will be gaps at the end of today. It's just how significant they will be. Well, normally you talk about sticky bottle, where a rider holds on and just gets a little bit of a slingshot for the car. It looked like he was actually pulling the car along there. Anyway, Sella clearly motivated today, and they need to learn to release those gels quickly into his hand. More quickly anyway. Dominic Roland, formerly of Cervelo, for Francis Desjeux. Took a stage in the Tour of California, you may remember. It was a tough one as well. So a hard man, and it could well be his kind of day today. We always talk up the escapees in the hope that they may well just get home, but frankly they are so motivated behind them, and not least because of Vinnie Fantini's local boy here, Danilo De Luca. But you never know, it might well be that just on one of these days we do have something that springs a surprise. Is it going to come from this lot?
No, it's just not. It's a very strong group, don't get me wrong. Adam Hansen also going through the picture there. He's an extremely strong rider. He completed all 3 Grand Tours last year. Not many people can lay claim to that kind of feat, but it's just not quite a big enough group, and also the fact that Vinnie Fantini have missed it. You can see how determined they are behind to try and have a chance of going for the stage victory at the end of today. So I can't see them getting all the way to the finish. They'll certainly have a good go, and they're working very well together at the moment. 6 minutes 35 the gap. 3 riders on the front for Vinnie Fantini. In fact, one more has just come up to join them, and no help from any other teams at the moment. Quite a few teams of course have missed it, but you might see them join in a little bit later on if it looks like Vinnie Fantini can't bring them back on their own. Equipment development. So we used to help the likes of Speedplay and Cervelo themselves, Vittoria tyres, Zip wheels, and also Castelli clothing, which at the time wasn't particularly well known. It had a bit of a downward trend after being very popular in the 90s with Paolo Pezzo, the mountain biker. Oh, that's a nasty crash. Is that Bullet? Gregor Ball. Oh, is it Liftgart? Sorry, from the breakaway.
It is, yeah. He's in the break, or he was, and I don't think he's going to be any more. That's an elbow. I've seen several scarred elbows in my time. Daniel Lloyd's has got a rotten one, and that's going to be a badge for later. He looks like he's ready to go, though. Brave that he is. So Pim still waiting, and this is not great for him. To be honest, gosh, what took them so long there to make that decision?
Not sure what was stopping the bike from being usable. They're quite fragile bikes these days. It doesn't take too much of a knock for them to require a new bike. Well, he's got the same bike down by the looks of it, unless they've got 2. Oh no, he's trying to decide where the other race bike, where his spare bike is.
There is an order, and well, they've rather cleverly, and that's good de-essing, put the escapee's bike on the edge, and away he goes. It's normally only the team principals, but here he goes.
What normally happens is that as soon as the breakaway is established, the car that becomes up behind the breakaway group is the second team car. So each team has 2 race cars in the convoy, the first and the second, and once they find out if they've got a rider up the road, both cars stop at the side, and they take the bike from the rider that's in the breakaway and put it onto the second team car in a good position, and then they go past the peloton and up behind the break and spend the entire day behind them until the gap is less than a minute. There's the replay of the crash, just slightly greasy on that corner from the little bits of rain that they've been experiencing, and that could be something which we could see quite a bit more of over the course of today if that rain continues to come down as it is.
Let that be a warning to everybody. That's how you can tumble so very easily. It looked like the front end it was as well, where he was putting most of the weight going round the corner. Diesel vehicles are mainly a feature of agricultural areas, and well, their exhaust normally points down and the microparticles sit on the road surface, so even if you haven't got a newly resurfaced surface, yes, when the rain comes it can be really greasy because of that diesel dust that gets mixed with the water, and away you go.
To start from the bunch, still about 50 k's to go.
Yes, it was Betaglin that won into Serra San Bruno and broke Danilo's heart. There were a number of other riders that finished in front of him, but it was a great day of racing, and it really showed sort of flashes of the brilliance that was before his career was marred, as Dan alluded to earlier on. But he is back, and yes, everyone deserves a second chance, they say, and maybe he'll take it today. De Luca, 80.4 kilometres to go. I looked out on one of these descents here, just trying to get back at the guys in front of him, but they're not hanging around. They want as much space as they could possibly get. As we say, that they're on the very, very high mountain climbs, your pace is simply your coping pace, unless you're one of the truly blessed. It's the same when you come to the descent here. Just taking the nose as we speak is Adam Hansen, who's really happy to punch a hole in the air and lead down, with Sella just getting on his back wheel. In fact, they've just been distanced ever so slightly here, but look at the pace. Really comfortable, both of them at that speed. Amazing.
Almost 90 kilometres per hour.
Wow.
Trying to get back on through these team cars. Not something you should probably do at home with just cars to the public.
Keep an eye on the brake lights, that's for sure, in a situation such as this. They know he's there, by the way, and will have been radioed in that regard. Still, they fly on and down. So, Dan, when have we got our intermediate markers today?
Well, as I said, this is that long downhill. They've just gone over the highest point of the day, and they've got a descent of almost 13 kilometres. The initial fast part, which they're on now, is 6 kilometres long, and then there's a further 7 kilometres kind of full flat downhill, so they'll continue to be going over 50 kilometres per hour then. And then the shark's teeth really start. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 small peaks, small but tough peaks to come from there, between there and the finish, and so that's when positioning really starts to become important in the bunch. And we can expect to see all of the favourites up and around the top 30 riders.
It's a mixed surface, and as that chops and changes, particularly within the wet on a descent, it can catch you out, and well, it can catch you out on the climb likewise. And Vini Fantini, who are given the role of chauffeurs, if you like, taking this high quality machine that is the peloton into position and dragging back these guys. Well, they got it a little bit wrong on one of those climbs. Wait for the climb into Chieti, all hell's going to break loose at that point. And
struggling for grip on the back wheel with the steepness of that climb. It says it's 19%. It certainly feels like more. As I said at the start of the programme, it's got steps going up the side. It's severe enough that they don't feel people can walk. It's just tarmacked all the way up. So that's going to be a spectacle once they get to that.
Will anyone go cyclo-crossy and use those steps?
I'll have to wait and see.
Might get you clear of a bit of road wreckage. Not talking that up in terms of our own hopes. We hope that everyone stays safe and avoids that sort of thing today. So wrapped and not bandaged. They're leaving it open. I suspect you'll see a bandage later on. Meanwhile, Paolini just tucks into what looks like a banana, but turns out to be a biscuit. We can talk you through the food. Incidentally, we had an amazing lunch today. Dan Lloyd went off and just decided to come back with a platter. Did you just say platari? I don't know, but it was lovely. There you go. That's us, and this is them. 4 chasers now of Vini Fantini from the 7 who are busy up front. And yeah, ride your luck, better had, and your bike as quickly as possible today. On this final run in, Dan, we're going to be talking about climbs and hills and small mountainettes a lot, but when we get to the end today, there's that huge shush into town, and it's going to be fast, isn't it?
It will be very fast. They crest the very last climb of the day, which is classified as the 4th category mountain, At 7.4 k's to go, they've got a very fast descent of around about 2.5, 3 kilometres, a few twists and turns there. That'll be hugely different again if it's raining compared to the dry that we saw this morning. From then, it's kind of fairly straight and quite flat all the way in towards the finish, but there is one section just after 4 k's to go where you kind of go straight on a roundabout. It goes into a park and it narrows considerably from the road that they were on before that, so that's something that they might have to watch out for. But from 3 k's to go to the finish, pretty straightforward. A little bit of time compared to the other day when Paolini won for a chase to go on if anybody is up the road solo or in a small group. So that's going to make it for a really interesting stage. I've been looking forward to this stage actually for a number of days now. In fact, ever since I saw it on the profile of the Giro d'Italia for 2030. I love stages like this where you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Well, we had a kind of a preview of it. We are going towards Chieti today, although we won't actually go up the high street. And so some of the climbs may well be familiar to those of you who have been following us live in Italy during what has been a fantastic season so far. Here we are on the Giro d'Italia, and we get to stage 7. Still a couple of stages before we get a rest day. No complaints for us at all. It's wonderful to have your company, and I'm sure you feel just the same about the quality of the racing that we've seen so far. Just homing in on Laurent Pichon, and in fact I don't think we were, but Laurent Pichon is the man of course who's carrying a chin strap, and yeah, they seem to love to focus in on him. These lakes, they've got sort of trout lakes and that kind of thing knocking around the place. I've got to tell you as well, they've got tortoise and turtle breeding farms, and in fact the park where we're passing through late on, if you're into your tortoises, go and say hello. I'm not sure what the entrance fee is, but we were waved through in our organiser's car, which is fantastic. Always like having that badge, despite the fact that we haven't done much organisation, but we're part of that grouping, and it's a very, very good place to be. 70.5 kilometres to go, 6 minutes and 34, and they're on this nasty little approach, which we have had a look at, Dan.
Yeah, the kind of sharp tooth profile really starts to kick in now. In fact, over the next 35 kilometres, they've got around 8 climbs to do, so they come in very, very quick succession. Absolutely no flat at all now for the next 40 kilometres. They're constantly up and down. And if you have a quick look on the map, which is actually available on the Giro d'Italia website, all of the profiles and all of the information from all of the stages can be found on that website. You'll see it's not only up and down all the way, it's also twisting all over the place. And as I keep saying from the start of today's programme, that's the characteristic of the entire stage today, almost like a kind of cross between Amstel Gold and Liège Bastogne Liège.
Front of the race, and able to freewheel and put some strength back into the legs. You'll see them shaking out later on as well ahead of each of these punchy climbs. And you can see as well, even from this motorcycle, just how many veils there are for them to deal with. It's fantastic countryside, it's absolutely beautiful, and the people extraordinarily friendly as well. We've just haven't heard a bad word, frankly. As we come into Pescara, I believe, although I'm not certain, that there is there's a university here and a number of colleges, and it's great. It sort of feels a bit like Holland. Everyone is on their bicycles in town, and a big crowd as well have turned out to welcome everybody home, and they will do in 60.8 kilometres time, a little bit longer than that for the Pelham, who are still further back down the road. But Sky, well, they're clearly positioning themselves not to get caught out today, and they have their ambitions. Oran sits at 17 seconds. Here's a backup that you're getting on each of these climbs, and yeah, riders just having to unclip and step off, and yeah, it really hampers those who are still charging on. Better to take it wide on occasion, but a rider could go down at any time in situations such as that, and there are shorter ways through, as you can see.
Viviani, that is, on the right hand side of the road, just jumping up onto the sidewalk, trying to make his way up towards the front. See how desperate the riders are to get into the right position. Fanned across the road now, 3 separate teams. You've got Vinny Fantini in the yellow in your pictures now doing the majority, in fact almost all of the work. Katusha have stepped back now, the gap's come down to 5 minutes. The closest rider in the break setter is at just under 7 minutes, so they're safe in that pink jersey again now, and they can leave it to the other teams. Got Team Sky on the right hand side of our pictures. just looking after Bradley Wiggins, keeping him out of trouble towards the front. Same with BMC on the left-hand side, but Stephen Cummings just keeping up Caleb Evans towards the front of the bunch as well. And it's going to get more and more hectic the further they get into this stage. And you saw how technical the downhill was in the breakaway just a minute ago. And we'll also see the effects of that on the bunch in just a few moments' time. So it's important to be near the front for the descents as it is for the climbs.
Cadell Evans is a pretty handy descender. He's a good time trialist as well, as you know. It's the very foremost these days as he comes to the end of his career, but he's certainly a very, very good climber as well. He has been constantly where he needs to be to keep into contention. He was a late inclusion in the Giro d'Italia, let's not forget, and he's ridden absolutely brilliantly. And I've got to say, his BMC team, if there are questions as to who is going to be the new Evans once Evans decides that he's had enough, well, they're going to have to put that question on hold at the moment. Our French colleagues here have been saying that they think that Cadell Evans has got a real chance today. He can descend well, he can climb well, he's turning into quite a punchy rider, and you know, those pacey finishes are not really too much of a threat if he's amongst other climbers as well. So I'm actually wondering where he's going to finish today. He'll certainly be within the same time as any main contenders who are in a main bunch, but can he spring off?
I don't think they're going to let him spring off, and they're only going to find out in a few days' time exactly what his form is on the longer climbs, longer mountains that we get a little bit later on in the race. But at the moment he's still too much of a threat. He needs to lose a bit of time on GC before they start letting him go up the road for stage wins, and I'm sure in the back of his mind he's still half thinking about the GC himself anyway. So, if the opportunity's there, just as the other day it was to take second place in the 12 bonus seconds, and I'm sure he will take it, but I certainly can't see him soloing it in for victory towards the end of the stage day. This is that climb in Terreno Adriatico from, I didn't ride the stage this year, but at least from last year it's the same. And they start descending now towards, they do a loop and go back towards Chieti.
Has he managed to restring it here? Let's have a look, fight for it. And this might be a stoppie. Last thing you need is for that to suddenly...
There we go. Probably Rollin in the breakaway, is it?
Good job. Nicely done. Got to get used to that sort of thing.
Here we go then, there's the hairpins that the breakaway took about 5 minutes ago. Really stringing the bunch out behind. A few riders having mechanical troubles at this race, and all different group sets as well, so the bunch kind of divided, mainly with Shimano, some of them with Campagnolo and some of them with SRAM. All three of them seem to have had their fair share of difficulties since the race started a week ago.
There's a lot of road chatter today. I'm not talking about between the riders, that's the bumps and the shaking that you get, and it takes a toll. It looks all right now, but they're keeping an eye on him. A little chat back at base, persisting holding on to the car, which is quite right too, but having a little bit of strategization perhaps. Gap's coming down though, 4 minutes and 14, that's tumbled in very quick order.
Yeah, it has, but it has had an effect on the Vinnie Fantini team as well. I noticed another one of their riders, Kiki, already gone from the front, and one other also struggling towards the top of the climb, which they've just been riding. But they've started to put riders such as Garzelli on the front, who's a former winner of this race 13 years ago, but still very strong. Once he starts riding on the front on the climbs, the gap comes down very quickly. The only problem is if you ride too hard on the climbs is that you can start to shell riders, as I've just mentioned. If you ride very hard on the flat, then riders behind have got the slipstreaming, and it doesn't take too much out of them. If you start riding very hard on the climbs, the riders behind having to do almost the same power as you, and so if they've just done a turn on the flat and you head up straight uphill, you can start to go into the red and start slipping back through the bunch. So they have started to bring it down, but they want to make sure that they look after their team, and they've still got enough riders to do the chasing, because they're not going to catch these riders back for at least another 30 kilometres.
Agricultural it is, as you can see. Inside of the road there's quite a bit of earth that's been picked up by the tractors and the like. Thankfully very dry here, which is great. See the breaks in the road that we're talking about, not only dead centre but particularly on the edge. This isn't bad at all where they are right now, but even that causing a bit of chain problems. Safely through and good pace, and as Dan was pointing out on the hairpins, it really does have a a stretching out effect on the chasers. And still Vini Fantini, they're almost, they've regrouped. What have we got here? 6 of their number up front. And they're clearly showing their intentions today, but Paolini's not that far behind. In fact, he's leading the main contenders, surrounded by the Katusha boys as we speak. Sky just eased off there, pursuing duties for a few moments' time. Clearly, it's a much safer part, and they've trusted Vini Fantini to actually get through it. Okay. Lloyd, D-A-N-I-E-L-L-L-O-Y-D. 6 riders, they had the bravery and indeed perhaps just a little madness, which is what you need today, to go for it. And from the 30-odd kilometre mark, they were out there. And with just 54.7 to go of the 177 today, their gap is just under the 4 minutes. It's come down as the chasers have really got themselves in order. Vini Fantini have been leading it, although are not being entirely trusted by the peloton, because they keep getting it wrong on some of the climbs and the more focused hairpin bends that they have to take. And so they're being themselves steered by Katusha, who like their pace, like their work rate, but just don't like their talent. And of course Katusha are taking over lead duties on behalf of Paolini, you can see on your screen right now. He's very close at hand. And Sky as well, of course, thinking of Bradley Wiggins, but perhaps about a stage win today and maybe even taking over the pink jersey. It will be Uran, the Colombian, Bradley Wiggins' teammate, who is 17 seconds down, that they're thinking of. And he's kind of spoken a little bit openly, although we've used our wile and guile to find out. Yes, to actually tell us or inform us. Maybe it's a bit of showboating, who knows? Maybe gameplay. But we think the Colombian is going for it today. Who from Vini Fantini would be your favourite, and why are they up there? Well, Danilo De Luca is a local man. Unfortunately for him, there are a couple of other locals in this peloton, and one of them is the leader, Luca Paolini, at 36 years of age. And it might be a Paolini day. It might be a De Luca day from this Vini Fantini team, who are leading on. But, well, we can't tell you for sure, because it is such a difficult day to read, mainly because of the descents and climbs that we have, of which we've counted around about 23. Yes, you think we'd be more accurate than that, but there are so many dips and dives. You could probably say 70 if you wanted to, but 23 of significance. I think 21 declared. But yes, it is tough. It was designed to be, and it's what this Giro d'Italia is all about. The toughest race in the world's most beautiful place. Not ridiculously tough, you understand, of a couple of years ago, but Michele Accaroni has designed a fabulous parcours, and frankly speaking, so far, well, we were racing straight out of the box, weren't we? No kind of prologue or anything like that. Just get on with it, start racing. Every day, Daniel Lloyd, has been a delight.
Yeah, it's been great so far. Even yesterday's sprint stage, which always take a little bit longer to really start the action. And what a fantastic lead out from Omega Pharma Quickstep. In fact, one of our viewers just written in saying, was that Robbie Hunter that was having a bit of a fight yesterday? Jonah Hamilton from South Africa? Yes, I've just replied to you, but it was indeed. But all made up now. Forgotten as well on this stage here today. 3 minutes and 46 seconds, so the gap's not coming down particularly much, of course, on the descent. It's the climbing where it really starts to make a difference, when Vini Fantini have started to accelerate somewhat. With Uran wanting to go into the pink jersey, just going back to that just very quickly, I'd imagine that Sky, if they did really want to do that, would have to start riding on the front and really putting the pressure on, because of course they need to drop Paolini if they want to go into the pink jersey with Uran. He's been looking very strong throughout the entire race so far, and he's not a bad rider on these short, sharp climbs. Of course, he's shown that at classics like Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, which he won earlier on this year in February. And I'm not sure whether Sky are really going to want to, use their energy at this point in the race to do that. Of course, they've got the big time trial tomorrow, 54.8 kilometres, which is what Bradley Wiggins, or where Bradley Wiggins is expected to win and put a significant time into all of his rivals. So I'd imagine that they might want to stay quiet today. If they do come to the front, I think it would be as much to keep Bradley Wiggins out of trouble and safe on the front on what a very tight and technical circuit, as much as to try and get Uran into that pink jersey. I think that's kind of a secondary and maybe more of a personal goal for him.
Villa Magna, our latest climb. And we have 6 riders up the road. Sella from Androni Giocattoli, Cilingi, Tour of Belgium winner a couple of years ago for Blanco, we have Tamaridis, the Greek rider, the only one here for Euskaltel Euskadi. Roland of Francis de Jure, formerly of Cervelo, won a stage in the Tour of California and is known as a bit of a hard man. There he is. With Tamaridis of Euskaltel Euskadi in the orange. Adam Hansen is here as well from Lotto Belisol, twice a national road champion medalist back home. And yes, more than capable. Did all the Grand Tours last year, so he is a tough egg as well. Tim Lichtert, who's fallen already, picked up a bit of road rash, got a damaged elbow, but is still functioning well. See how he gets tomorrow. Former Dutch champion also involved. So those 6 riders, real quality up front. Slope 8%, but with much steeper sections. And you'll hear us say that quite often. There is one that's declared at 18%. Today, and that is a real test that we'll be coming to. Vini Fantini just drifting through your screens now. They've decided that they can't really put too much else into this today until the very end, and that there are resources that need actually saving, and well, you wouldn't deny them that. They've done a lot of work. Sella, Hansen, Roland, 5, 3 and 2 points they've taken at that mountain classification.
A lot of riders in trouble at the back of the bunch, which was to be expected on a stage like today. That group's going to gradually whittle down all the way from here to the finish.
It will. It's going to thin out good and proper. Now there is Chieti. It is a beautiful place, and actually my favourite cafe on the planet is on the high street here. There's all chaps in bleached linen. What am I trying to say? Now, yes, you know the things. But brief linen clothing covers. I've lost the word for a moment. Aprons, thank you. But they serve the most amazing coffee. And, you know, there are cups of coffee and there are cups of coffee. But if you're ever in Chieti, you can't mistake it. It's very sort of fin de siècle, very Victorian, high mirrors and gilded everything. Marble floor, smashing. And they make a very good cup of coffee as well. Damn cheap. You stand at the bar and get an espresso these days with a dash of milk if you want a macchiato, and it'll cost you about €1, which is great. 2 minutes. That's the gap, and they're out of the saddles and they're going for this because they want to carry as much momentum into the Chieti climb as they possibly can, and you won't be able to blame them when you see it. Our vehicle virtually stalled this morning as we were going up here in first gear, just trying to experience it. It was like we're sitting in a deck chair. We were tilted so far back. And look at this. Here's your steps right now revealing it themselves. They're quite long steps. They get very narrow, narrower and narrower the steeper it gets. And it is steep.
It is very steep. We've got the Greek rider from Euskaltel in some trouble in the breakaway. So that group down to 5 riders now. Tabore is just a few metres off the front of the bunch, or at least he was going over the top of the climb. And on my other monitor just a minute ago, I saw that he still wasn't too far ahead. Whether or not they've just slackened off the pace down the descent, I'm not sure, but one thing is for sure, he's not that far ahead of this group. Navadauskas there on the back for Team Garmin Sharp. How long he'll stay there, I'm not sure, because as I said, they go immediately from this downhill straight into that next climb. Well, you've just seen the breakaway riders. It'd be good to go back to the breakaway just to see exactly how steep it is. I can tell you Adam Hansen, that's on your screens now, on the front, digging deep. And they go up this steep section, which is, well, much steeper than it looks. He's going very well, Hansen. He's got Sella on his wheel struggling. Pim Litkart behind that. Dominique Rollin on France de Jure, not able to keep up the pace. And same goes for Chalengi, who's on the left of your screen right now. It just crests briefly, and then it continues to go on right the way to the top, where they'll see that TV intermediate sprint. And from there they turn right, and it's still a little bit of a false flat for another kilometre or so before they start heading downhill towards the next intermediate sprint of the day.
Adam Hansen is such a hard case. Look at him. He's not supposed to be suited to a day such as today, but 3 Grand Tours under his belt last year as participation, and right now he's a main player. Look at this. And the man who's alongside him is the diminutive Emanuele Sella. He's not going to offer him much wind resistance if Sella takes the lead on the downhill after this. And charging on is Tabore. He's doing a good job here as well. I'm actually looking, we'll get an intermediate split time for you in just a few moments. I think he has actually distanced the chasers ever so slightly.
He's going really well, Adam Hansen, because he's a big bloke, and I can tell you this is extremely steep. You only have to look on the side of the road, and as you said, Carlton, those steps just getting shorter and shorter as the steepness of the gradient increases, and they've probably got another 200 or 300 metres of this left until they get to the top. Great form by the Australian rider. He's got his own homemade shoes on. You can kind of just see them there. They're like slippers. He's moulded some carbon to his feet and made his own cleat holes, and they seem to be serving him well. Only 109 grams or 119, memory
there you are.
fades me.
I think he's probably doing a very good job about getting a cobbler's contract. Sure, it'd be better than that. Fabio Tabore is the chaser. Well, we thought he'd got a bit of a gap, but as it turns out, it's probably 150 metres maximum. 1 minute and 50 as well, to continue the serendipity, is the gap up to the leaders. We're rolling through this one. There's your 35 marker. Our escapees have gone through it, and two foremost amongst them, Emanuele Sella, there he is, the little guy, and the big fella.
He's just going round him.
Yeah, he's just powering on. Adam Hansen, are you going to monster it today, Adam? I think it might well be one of the big guys. You never know. Well, we said you could bring some power to today, and he's proving that you can. He's got a little bit more of a climb, rather unkindly. It's not quite over and done with. Slightly flatter, though, as you can see the pace that they got on. But it's going to be about these two in a moment. They'll make the turn. Is it left and down the hill, I think, if I remember rightly? But they won't be going. It's a little switch, actually. But they won't be going into town today. No. So there'll be a shimmy past where the team buses were parked in the Tirreno Adriatico. That didn't look good.
No, Pavel Brut coming to a standstill on the middle of the road there. Tabore. Well, I think Vinny Fantini really need to change their tactics, because, as I said, he's not going to be able to close this gap to those front two on his own. He needs some help, and presumably there's not that much help left for the Vinny Fantini team in the bunch. I can imagine they probably only got De Luca Rabatini, maybe one other rider left, perhaps Gatto. Yeah, two of them at the front. I think you can presume. Oh, Sant'Ambrogio will be there, of course, as well, but he won't want to be working on the front. So it looks, well, they've definitely only got two riders left in the bunch, and they might have done a lot of work for nothing if they're unable to persuade any of the other teams to help them chase. Might be that we get some other teams now joining in the chase as they try and fight for the stage win. Ventoso amongst the Movistar riders there, just going through, the Spanish champion. He's also an outsider for today if he could get over the climbs, but it looks like he's struggling with these steeper gradients today.
Well, there is Tabore, and it makes you question the tactics of Vinny Fantini, as Danny was saying, all over the place really, and they were all over the road not long ago. And this man got off the front, clearly told to do so by those amongst his team. Maybe they're suddenly not feeling up for it. I think De Luca's still there. We see who's with him, but Tabore's gone. It sort of fractured the front. Coming on a BMC here.
Have you spotted Paolini recently?
Well, I'm desperate, frankly, to see if we can find Cadel Evans, who's got back after shoe problems.
Visconti in trouble. I might have a monitor, sorry, to go over to that. But King of the Mountains, Giovanni Visconti, is going to drop slightly from the bunch, which is being led by Sky by the looks of things again now. Tabore just coming up towards. Oh, look at the head nodding.
BMC are also joining in at the front, which suggests that Cadel Evans may well have bounced his way back on. Fighting spirit from Cadel. Let's have a look and see if we can find out just where he is.
Can't see the pink jersey. Looks like Paolini's in some trouble.
Wow.
You can see one of the other Katusha. Oh, there he is on the right hand side. Phew.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Scaring everybody, Daniel Lloyd. 32.7 kilometres to go. And you can see how narrow the streets are. There are the steps on the right hand side that we were talking about to help pedestrians get up this area. But the riders got to do it all on their own, and some of them just wish they had some help. There's no getting towed and some off the bike, but that's just grinding to a halt. That was Rory Sutherland, I think. Meanwhile, the joy is for these two who led over the top, and it was the big man, Adam Hansen, that did a superb job there. Sella, the small guy with him. Now Hansen descends better than Sella, as far as I can remember. So let's see whether he's going to take the four here. Fantastic, this pairing, and but it has essentially destroyed the escape.
Well, not necessarily. It's one of those things on these. Well, actually, to be fair, having seen this part of the course this morning, it's kind of the eventually in a couple of kilometres' time the longest, straightest road that they're going to have for almost the entire latter part of the stage, so perhaps they could have done with a few more riders. But sometimes you'll find that you get some hangers on or people that are starting to fade slightly from the breakaway, it is better to just plough away on your own.
Yes, that looks like we might be pacing in. I think this is our lead pairing. Let's just swap places right now. Let's have a quick look. Can't quite get close enough. I'm sure some of you will. Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
Oh, it's raining there.
It is. It's wet and the pace is high, but it's been found out. Emanuele Sella has gone down. Now, where has Adam Hansen gone? And he's up the road. There he is, dead centre, so wasn't involved, but Sella caught out. Momentary lack of concentration, perhaps. Using his thighs as windbreaks here, Tabori, as he comes round. Now, fingers crossed, we did say it was very, very greasy surface, and it can catch anybody out. So watch them as they come in, clearing of the nose, clearing everything, shed all the extra weight, and get on that charge.
Yeah, it's obviously just started raining at the bottom of this descent. I hope that Tabori here gets news on race radio that he needs to be careful.
He is being
at the bottom there. He's a couple of minutes behind the leading Giro. He was. I'm not sure what that gap is now. Hansen pressing on. He's got no reason really to wait around for Sella. As you said, he's not going to get too much benefit out of the wind. But yeah, look on the monitor. There's quite a lot of rain falling on that last part of the descent, and these guys, especially in the bunch, are going to have to be really, really careful as they come towards that last corner before they head onto the long straight road and takes them to the next climb of the day.
Well, Tabori might well catch some of the guys up the road here. We'll see. Check over the shoulder. Where's he gone, says Adam Hansen. The fact is, down is the answer. When they come around the corners here, you'll see them counterbalancing, trying to keep the bike as upright as possible. That's what we saw with Tabori, so he took a much wider line through the hairpin rather than leaning the bike in overly. And he's on the radio here, Hansen, being told about what has happened. You're on your own, mate. And he wants word from the Direct Sportif. What's the gap? He says, come on, fill me in. Is it worth me just punching on here? And they will tell him what the gap are. And he's got this turn to come.
Yeah, Tabori coming just up to the same turn which we saw Sella crash on a few moments ago. All the umbrellas up. It's really looking black over there, isn't it? It's still dry here at the finish, at least on the tarmac. I've had a few splatterings of rain, but nothing of any consequence so far, but you can see how easy he's having to take it.
Yeah, I think they tightened the curve. I don't know whether it's fluid. There's a big pothole there as well. That could catch some out. And to be honest, if they're protecting the outside, this is how it happened. This is the moment. They're saying, get over, get over. That's it. That's the reason why. There's oil there. Clearly some fluid on the ground. And oh, you can see how slippy it is. My goodness. Well, they've told everybody, and there's no way they can clean this up. And even the member of the crowd that came out, clearly there's been some kind of fuel spill there, and a nightmare corner. The problem is they're trying to push them over to the right-hand side of the road, and there's a dirty, great big pothole to be dealt with. Well, he's just checking himself out as he relays back on, and that's good work. And Hansen, frankly, has just waited up for him because he could do with the respite.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether Adam would bother to wait for Sella or not, but he obviously decided it was worth it, or at least that he should do out of courtesy, one or t'other. And hopefully we'll go back to the bunch soon, because I'd like to see exactly who's taking control now that Vini Fantini have got Tabori kind of in no man's land in the middle.
Well, here's your chasing group. It includes Blanco and a number of other riders, a trio of other riders. That's Cialinghi is also there. I think we've still got Tamaridis as well. This is Tabori on his own, who's chasing on. And there is Blanco and Sky at the front. Almost look identical, actually, from this distance, but Blanco with the sort of bluer side to their strip. But they've also got... I'm actually looking to find out where the Milia Rosa is, actually. Although declared, there he is.
Centre of your screen now with the Lamprey rise just overtaking.
And Cadell Evans has made it back on with his new booties. There you go.
Sure is that him?
I'm just checking in. Yes, it is. Very good work by Cadell.
Now,
here it is.
They reached the GPM.
Well, they're running a clock on it right now.
A few riders going with him.
Tabori's backed in. He's going to have some help here, De Luca, and I think he's got help because they know that De Luca's going to really attempt this one. So why not join the fun? And
Nibali's there.
It is, and I think Scarponi as well.
Yeah.
Here they go. So over they come. He's seeing who's alongside. Who can I beat amongst this lot? And let's have a crack at this one, shall we? Tabore looks and checks. He sees De Luca. Maybe that's a good job by him. And have they brought Sant'Ambrogio to the party as well?
Yeah, Sant'Ambrogio is there. Gesink is there. No sign of Hejerdal or Wiggins on this group. They maybe were caught out slightly.
This is a big danger then if Sant'Ambrogio goes on here and Vini Fantini makes something of this. And Sant'Ambrogio is only 39 seconds down in the GC. Don't forget, he's the third Vini Fantini man, and he's sitting in there just behind Scarponi.
Well, I can see Hejerdal in the distance. I cannot see Team Sky.
Oh my goodness. Well, this might be the point of the race where some real yawning gaps open up. It could be individual glory as well, though, don't forget. There is Hansen. Sella and Lichtart are out there too. That was the last mountain sprint, so there's still work for those guys to do. But this is the chase in, and it's going to be breathless, not only for us, but for them as well. 18.5 to go, and he's on an absolute mission here, Adam Hansen. He's got nobody else to blame or congratulate other than himself. The weight is upon his shoulders. Emanuele Sella got caught out on that last climb, which was something of a surprise. Hansen powering on. He's gone. Now, can he bring it home? That's the eternal question.
Well, I can tell you that group behind that went off the front has sat up slightly. It looks like Kizilowski, the Radio Shack rider, has now gone on the attack, and he's got Tabore on his wheel but refusing to work. Here we go on your screens now.
Yeah, and say, come on, come and do some help. And he said, well, I can't. I've got my teammates that are supposed to be going for the daily victory behind me. And so Tabore not helping out at all. So this one possibly going to be nullified. We will see. Past the camera they sail, trying to take as much out of as they can. Kizilowski in big conversation. Elbow again, elbow again. Tabore is not going to respond to this. And this is the reason why the main man, as far as they're concerned, for the GC Sant'Ambrogio is in the mix here. So is Daniel De Luca. I think Evans has made it over.
I still haven't seen Sky in this group.
They're not there.
Further and further
Here we
back.
go.
There's the gap. Nobody from Team Sky in that group, which includes Nibali, Hejerdal, Sanchez, Evans. Where are they?
I think Evans is there, but
Evans is there, but nobody from Team Sky.
Wow. 16.6 seconds. Sorry, misunderstood you. Over a very, very damp bridge. Please don't get it wrong. Please don't get it wrong. And does a nice job of keeping the bike very, very upright. Lays the power down on the flatter section here. This is pacing.
Yeah, he's got about another kilometre of descending now before he starts swinging round to the left. It just drags up into this small village, takes a right-hand turn under a bridge into another very, very narrow road. From that point on, it's kind of slightly on descent, so he shouldn't lose any time to the bunch on that next section of road. Then it's the final climb there. Here's Team Sky. Have they bridged back up to this front group? Pelizzotti also there.
Wow, well, we will wait for a wider view. 15.8 kilometres to go, and Bradley Wiggins putting fires out. Here's your charge on, and Blanco doing a proper job here. Familiar figures towards the front. They've done a lot of work. We see their visage again and again right here.
Well, they're really putting some pressure on at the front with Kruijswijk just ahead of the leader. Number one from the Blanco team, Robert Gesink, the Dutch rider. Scarponi there behind with one of his Lamprey teammates. Nibali also up towards the front with Oran, who, well, despite saying there's unity in the team, he's nowhere near where Bradley Wiggins is towards the back. This is that narrow road I was telling you about. He's made that right turn now. Hansen stays on this road for another 5 or 6 kilometres. In fact, it leads to the next King of the Mountains. It's quite a technical road, this one, and in fact, not one where you want to be sat at the back of a group of 40 riders.
And frankly, not one where the cars should be that close.
Luca's going again.
Oh dear. They're kicking off on the chasers, but this man is kicking as well. You see the rain spatters upon the cameras as he makes this turn into town. 13.7 to go. It's a little tunnel he's got just popped out from underneath. It's still a climb, and then it's going to be the run for home.
Astana attacking as well, so well, just as I thought that the interest in this stage was dying, and it looks certain that Hansen was going. There's a lot of action in this group behind. I still don't think they've got any chance of catching Adam Hansen at the front.
Tano Canguet just kicks off at that side of the road, and yes, Vini Fantini still. You see how tired the legs are. They can't respond at the moment. I think they're all heartbroken that Adam Hansen has got the drop on them. Canguet powers on. The Estonian champion wearing that rather fetching livery as well, and suddenly De Luca I think kicks as well, and he's gone here on a full charge. Now this time it looks like he's going to be let go. We'll see if he manages to make it stick. 2 minutes and 28. Well, he had some chasers on the climb, but I think De Luca is allowed to go. Sant'Ambrogio not so.
Yeah, De Luca's the rider that's just Coming across to Kangert here. Kangert 3 minutes and 20 seconds, or roughly in the down in the. Not quite sure what the idea is from Astana. Of course, they're all here to work for Vincenzo Nibali in the overall classification. They thought this might spur some attacks on. They thought any of the other GC riders was in trouble. I'm not sure, but
you know what?
Has certainly sparked some other attacks.
If they think that Adam Hansen is going to suffer on this last climb, they better think again, because he's still got the legs, and now he's got the belief, and he will be chuckling to himself, and I hope that we're chuckling for him at the end. It would be great to see him. It'd be great for Lotto Belisol as well to get something out of this, and the movement is they're powering on, but they can't deliver too much right now because the road is so slippery.
Yeah, Bardiani coming to the front now. I'm not sure if Battaglin is still left in this group. I would be surprised if he was, because they went pretty hard up that last King of the Mountains just a few moments ago. De Luca struggling to get onto the wheel of Kangert here.
He is.
Can't quite bridge that gap.
No, and in fact the chasers are kind of onto him. It's Cannondale that are leading it right now. We'll see. I think it's Damiano Caruso for Cannondale that's on the push. And Ryder Hesjedal, there he is, along with Bradley Wiggins in this group. Now, I think they're sort of dismissing the day's stage. There's Sant'Ambrogio as well in the yellow, number 228 with them. And this is the Miglia Rosa group, which includes Cadel Evans as well. I think today then might well be just one that they want to get over and done with, and Bradley himself just make sure he doesn't cede any seconds to his main rivals, thinking of course the long game to the individual time trial. This though, oh look at the puddling at the side of the road. It's gullying, which means there's a very narrow route here through this very bumpy, nasty little country road that they're dealing with. All right, you've probably seen worse, but it's narrower now than it was earlier on today, and he won't want this motorcycle, the camera motorcycle, too close, because it's sending up a rooster tail of spray back at him. There's Emmanuel back up on the front. I've got to tell you, for Hansen, he's almost walking the bike round as we speak. He lost the back end a moment ago. It slewed from underneath him, standing water on the inside of the curves, and this is almost a heartbreaking potentially situation for him to be in. It could also be glory, let's not forget. Let's just keep our fingers crossed for him. It was a big moment just off camera a few moments ago. Oh, goodness me. He's absolutely upright. He's riding this course like a Sunday afternooner, and he's kind of got to be honest. He's got a cushion as we speak, but will it be enough by the end? He's nervously checking over his shoulder. I think that is Seller, actually. But we're waiting to just pick up with Adam Hansen as well, who's up the road. Goodness me, this is amazing.
News coming in. The latest time gap is 1 minute and 40 seconds from Adam Hansen, who's leading the race, to Emanuele Seller, and behind that it's only a few seconds to this group with Pirazzi. Oh, is that Seller?
No, yes it is, it's Seller.
Yeah, he's just being caught by Pirazzi now, so that's the day over for Seller. And the group behind just catched him. So Hansen looks certain to win this stage, but there's a lot of action going on behind him.
Look how upset he is.
A lot of surprises going on as well.
He just swings the arm with disgust as they come by him here. Well, you'll taste tarmac today. That was the warning at the beginning, and so it has proved. My goodness. Well, having tiptoed his way down the mountain, he's still got some descending to do, and look how careful he is being. Little changes, little painted surfaces, looking out for manhole covers, looking out for metal wherever it is. He's a man who's got plenty of it. Oh, there's more! There's more wreckage on the ground here.
That is Bradley Wiggins on the ground.
Paolini, I beg your pardon, also caught out here. Plenty of others.
Now this is a really big moment in this year's Giro d'Italia. This
Huge.
man, the favourite coming into it, is a big day tomorrow in the time trial, but he looks set at the moment to lose a lot of time on today's stage.
Down he goes into the corner. There's the leader's jersey as well. Paolini got a full preview of that. Well, it shows you it doesn't matter how good a bike rider you are, you can be found out today, and Bradley Wiggins is having a nightmare just today. Well, he's got ground to make up when it comes to the time trial. It does look like he's hurt as well. He's got no pace about him at all. I don't think it's a technical.
Well, he's really nervous on these descents. I said it a bit earlier in the programme.
That's all it is, Dan. He's just told the car that everything's fine. He dismissed them.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I remember he was very confident in his Veloflex tyres. This is the narrow part of the course that comes just after 4Ks to go, so he's only got about 3.5 Ks to the finish now, Adam Hansen. He's got the luxury of being able to take those curves very, very easy, because he will have heard from the team car, sorry, 4.1 k's there, he will have heard from the team car that he's got a reasonable gap.
Bradley Wiggins.
Shame for
painful viewing, I've got to say, for Sky fans and of course Bradley Wiggins fans, but great viewing if you happen to be an Aussie. Today, victory is going to come to Adam Hansen. Look at this, he's through the park, he's out the exit, and they'll keep squeezing that lens for you. They need to get in front, to be honest, so that we can get a clear camera view.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is who's going into pink jersey today, because Paolini was also part of the... he's lost all confidence. He's done.
Alongside we are right now, Adam Hansen, who just has to time trial his way home. He's pretty good at that. Bradley Wiggins got no confidence whatsoever. He's 50ping every single corner. He's taking the hexagon route round. He's got no pace about him whatsoever. There's going to be some big gaps opening up here. Paolini went by him, and it's big checks over shoulder as other riders think, where on earth is everybody else? That was Stortoni waiting to pick his man up here. Look at this.
Who's sat sixth wheel in this group, as you can see them on your screens at the moment. He looks like he might be going into the pink jersey. It's going to also come down to the bonus seconds at the end of today.
Back with Bradley Wiggins.
Uran is second overall, but he was with the group with Bradley Wiggins. They've seemed to have forged on ahead and left this man on their own. You can see the urgency in this group now. It's not to try and catch Hansen, it's to try and gap the riders who have been dropped.
Bradley Wiggins is being punished. He's on the rack at the moment. Confidence on descending, and indeed in this wet he doesn't believe in the tyres, frankly. Oh goodness me. Meanwhile out front they're charging on, and he's being caught all the way down the line here.
Well, the two Colombians have been told to drop back and help Bradley Wiggins to come back up to the group, but there must be a big gap now. I reckon it must be almost a minute between the group of Nibali et al. and this man on your screens now.
2.4 to go. Hansen's out there, and Bradley Wiggins has got some wingmen, but they are punishing him out front. Oh, this is the big chance for some of the other GC riders to just stretch that line between themselves and Bradley Wiggins. There's Paolini, who likewise does not look overly delighted. He saw Wiggins goes down, and he's going to stay on the back of this group. Here's Bradley Wiggins. There's no favours at this point of the race. Meanwhile, out front and running out of road is Adam Hansen. He's charging for the lead, and here he is, beating on his nose right now, looks at the camera, allows himself a little thought of what might be. He's grinning away, good boy. 1.8 to go, 1.7, a mere 1,600 metres for Adam Hansen to take a phenomenal victory here. It's going to be his, and it's courtesy of his efforts, but also the conditions today and the way that luck has panned out technically and indeed strategically amongst other teams. It's going to be Adam Hansen. The question is, who's going to pick up the pieces? And there's going to be some wreckage out there, we know that. Oh, there's going to be some massive yawning gaps in the overall classification, and these guys, they've got the whip hand today as the remainders, including the pink jersey here, come through the park. Question is, what's the gap back to Wiggins?
Well, we've got a large gap. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Here's Wiggins struggling to keep up with the pace setting of his two Colombian teammates at the moment. But in that front group, I've noticed Hejdal is there, Scarponi is there, Nibali is there, Inchausti is there. And of all the riders in that front group, the one most likely to take the pink jersey off that guy on your screen just now, Luca Paolini, is Inchausti. But he's only 5 seconds ahead of Nibali, and let's not forget that behind this man there's also 12 seconds and 8 seconds of bonus seconds on offer.
What a day. The heavens have opened, but it has not dampened our enthusiasm one little bit. Adam Hansen is going to come across the line here for a magnificent victory in appalling conditions. Don't worry, it's the camera bike that's just readjusting itself and getting clear so that we have a clear look at a man who has dominated today. He's played every game, up the hills and down dale. He's now time trialing his way home, allows himself a huge grin, gives the thumbs up to the commissaires who offer up their congratulations. This is a team game, but one man has done it on his own, and here he comes. Zip it up, not to keep warm, just to look good. Oh, and he does with 300 metres to go. He's going to bring this one home in the rain, the lights flare, and it's almost like a grandstand finish. He can afford to just let this one sink in. My goodness, what have I done? I tell you, Adam, you have won a stage of this year's Giro d'Italia into Pescara. Let it be writ large upon the newspapers tomorrow. He's the man. Huge roar going up for Adam Hansen, and now it's all about those who are coming in. Well, Shasink is here, Hejadal is here as well, so is Inzausti. It's about the countback essentially as well from these guys. Cadell Evans is also in the mix here, and don't forget this bonus seconds up for grabs, and so this is going to help out those for the general classification. 500 metres remaining, they're going to sprint for this one, and well, there is our leader's jersey. He's going to let them have their fun out front. He led, don't forget, by 17 seconds coming into today, but it looks like he's going to hand over the leader's jersey. It's possibly going to be Movistar's Inzausti that gets into that jersey, but they're going to race for it right now. And here they go, it's kick-off time. Oh, and it's Finance that's gone for this over the other side of the line. And why wouldn't he? But I think he's going to get eaten up, and so he is. And so it's surely going to come down to Vini Fantini. Have they got any big legs left? Bardiani Valvoli, they've hit big, really, really big this year in Italia. And it's between them and Farnese Vini at the line. Oh, it's a tight one, but in the end it is Bataglin that comes second on the day. He's got some real bragging rights in this Giro d'Italia, but goodness me, now the count back begins. This, the important bit. Knock about 1 minute and 10 seconds off that clock and then start counting back, because the big names are still to come. Kanget just rolls over the line. Where is Bradley Wiggins? Some big names, I should say, no disrespect to anybody. What a finish, and what a day it has been. We look for Bradley Wiggins and the clock rolls on, and this could be destruction. Depends what he does in the individual time trial and then again in the mountains. That little grouping led over here by Pozzovivo. Big Italian presence up front. Some huge celebrations, not only down under, but amongst a lot of Belisol today, as Adam Hansen has taken it. But we are waiting long and hard. And indeed, keeping our fingers crossed that everybody gets in safe, and Bradley Wiggins gets back on by the looks of things. But goodness me, that was terrifying, the descent there. Bradley Wiggins is within this group, but he's given away 2 minutes here. Oh my goodness. Well, the line gradually approaching. About 1.5 minutes perhaps. He'll get the same as this grouping as they cross the line. Some big talent coming in. In fact, he's with the pink jersey coming across the line together. Paolini, who had a shout today, according to many, also found out. But wow, we've had some racing. The Giro d'Italia, they said it's the world's most difficult race in the most beautiful place. Well, you'd be hard pushed to say it's beautiful, at least in terms of weather at the finish line, but that was tough. And Daniel Lloyd's just getting himself into position to talk to the day's winner, but there have been so many losers today. Gosh, where on earth do you start? That was Vladimir Karpets, incidentally, coming across the line. Where do you start? Goodness me. Here's the moment that Adam Hansen knew he has won a stage off the Giro d'Italia. I chuckle, he's chuckling. That was phenomenal. Adam Hansen, winner of stage 7 of the Giro d'Italia. This is how the sprint panned out, just behind. Very, very, very good work yet again from Bataglin. You can see him there, number 42 in the pale green. He gets a wingman coming up. He latches onto his wheel right now. They race together, trying to nullify what was being delivered by Peter Wiening. He went backwards as they sailed by. Goodness me, he had to work hard though, did he not? But he did. Bataglin is coming to be a bit of a star turn at the end of a tough day, and in the end it was that got the better of a late charging De Luca at the line. Here he is.
Yeah, joined by a very happy Adam Hansen. Adam, talk us through the stage and when you started to realise that you had a hope of taking the victory.
Well, when the breakaway formed, normally I'm pretty good in a breakaway, and when we had good time, I thought, okay, maybe it's a good chance.
And were you surprised to drop the other riders on the climbs? You looked very strong today.
Well, I don't usually climb so bad. Okay, against specialists, it's a different story, but in a breakaway, normally I'm not such a bad climber.
What does it mean to you? I mean, Lars Bak won here last year. He's another rider that's normally working for other riders. It must be a great feeling to get your own opportunities.
Oh, for sure. Lots of belly. So it was one stage here, I think, the last 4 years. And in the post meeting for this race, Mark Sajan said one of us will also win this race. So I thought maybe I'm the lucky one.
Okay, great to see a breakaway rider win. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Daniel Lloyd echoing our thoughts. Great to see a breakaway rider win, and he did in some style. Well, if you're going to make it as a breakaway rider, you've got to have skills in all departments, and that was what was on display today. Speed. Well, it looks like we'll be getting to him in just a few moments' time. Here's your stage results. Adam Hansen taking it today. Great win. Bataglin nearest to him with Daniel De Luca in third place. Sant'Ambrogio as well, doing himself all kinds of favours in the GC. Caruso, Evans, Pirazzi, Jensen, Wiening and Hejerdal. In Southsea, it looks like, is in our leader's jersey then today. But close at hand is Sant'Ambrogio. And here is our winner, our leader.
Yeah, sorry about that. Back with Bennett in Chelsea now. Bennett, a little bit of a surprise to go into pink today. Describe the feelings.
Bueno, sinceramente estoy un poco todavía sorprendido y mira,
it's surprising.
Es un premio después de tanto trabajo.
You know, this is they got the best races in the world here, and I've got a great team. They teed him up, of course, from the time trial. And when you're in such a strong team such as this, you take your chances when you can get them. And I've got the pink jersey, but it's not just for me; it's for my entire team. He says, quite right. They teed him up for the time from the team time trial, and he is now in the pink. Goodness gracious me, everybody else in the red today. Overall standings in Southsea leads Nibali in second place, only 5 seconds down. Ryder Hejerdal, there he is, 8 seconds adrift. Caruso, Sant'Ambrogio now trimming from 39 seconds to just 13 off the leader. And Cadell, 16, he just keeps going forward. If he keeps it up like this, he'll be in the pink before you know it. Will he hold it by the end? Who knows? Jacinc in the frame as well. Santa Romita, Peter Wiening doing a good old job for Orica today. And Kieselowski into the top 10 overall, 34 seconds down. Don't forget, there's 20 seconds bonus for winning a stage. And so if you're drawing a line under the top 7, that's what you've got to do, fellas. Roll on, shall we? Samuel Sanchez, 52 seconds down. Kreisweig, Scarponi, and you wait and you hope for a Wiggins name to pop up there, and he's not in the top 20. He lost a hatful today, unfortunately for him, and it was the rain that beat him. Goodness me. Time trial. It was always going to be a daunting affair, and so it proved to be. The 8th stage of this Giro d'Italia. Alex Dowsett ended the day as the winner. Emilia Rosa, well, he tumbled all the way down the order, I'm afraid. Lost over 4 minutes in Southsea, and so handed over pink after just a day riding it on a very tough course. Cheer for the Italians. Nibali did the time trial of his career. Talk about stepping up to the plate. And that final ramp, he ate it up and indeed did enough to take the pink jersey. Well, it was certainly an extraordinarily tough course. A lot of riders were found out there. The final ramp, really the biggest of tests. Bradley Wiggins, however, he had examinations further ahead, or further down the course, I should say. This the first of them. My goodness, a technical failure, called for his bike, threw it away in disgust. That's a lot of kit. Remembered his water bottle. Onto his spare bike then. Could he just settled himself down into what was a testy course with so many corners? Well, by the time he hit the bottom of the final ramp, we were worried. And he retrieved 40 seconds in the last 3 kilometres off the time that had been set by this man. Alex Dowsett had gone off earlier in the day. He'd had a decent run in terms of the weather, but it was his performance until the final ramp which really set him up for victory. He is a debutant, don't forget, on the Grand Tour, and now he's a stage winner. He couldn't quite believe it. Nibali in the pink, and the emotions coming to the fore. He's a gentle soul. San Sepolcro to Florence, Firenze, of course, and there it is. What that graph does not tell you is about the punishing climbs that we're dealing with today. They are the most difficult that we faced so far. Nothing like the high mountains, but certainly a rude awakening for maybe some of the quick men. Could be a day for the escapees, however. If you've got some ambition, it's now you deliver. There are the peaks, the Della Consuma and the Vallombrosa, and there's still a couple of kicks towards the end, as you can see, including a last ramp. So, gather yourselves, because it's another series of damp roads on some very testy descents as we bid for the finish line. And as you can see, they've already been racing for an hour and 48 minutes. Getting a huge roar from the crowd when he turned up to sign on, and all the great and the good there, including, of course, the I was going to say mercurial, but it's only been one-way traffic for Dowsett. He's on the way up, I can tell you, after winning that stage yesterday. So everyone's signing on today. A tough day in prospect, we know that, and maybe that accounted for Mark Cavendish's very serious look at the team presentation earlier on today. He wears red, leading that competition ahead of Viviani. Listen to that. Well, the balloons went up. And then a moment's silence to remember one of those involved in creating this great race. So, non-starter, Francesco Chicchi. Well, not a day for the quick men, that's for sure, but decided that today was just a little bit too much for him. Maybe it's in the weather forecast, who knows? So once they finally got up to speed, there were a number of break attempts. Finally, though, we have settled down, and it's a reasonably select group, I've got to tell you. Just look at the clouds, having left the crowds behind. Finally, we established ourselves, after lots of skirmishes, into a quality group of 12 riders. And I've got to tell you that Argus Shimano represented in the break for the first time in this Giro d'Italia. Well, they checked on the time gaps, the chasers, and finally they decided to allow a certain number of riders to go away. That number is 12, and the best placed of them is Garate from Blanco at 5 minutes and 42 seconds down. So punchy today, and the climb of Anghiari, one of those tests.
And that was Martinez of Androni on your screens just a few moments ago, and we can tell you that he has retired from the race. I think he's suffering slightly from the ill effects of the illness that he had a few days ago, so no longer in the race. Number 25, Gil Martinez of Androni. Looked like Miller was also suffering towards the back. He's been suffering from allergy problems since the start of this race. Thinks it might be the olive trees. Didn't seem to have got any better. He was really struggling on one of those first climbs today. Very, very, very fast start today. This is the breakaway on your screens now.
12 angry men, you might say. Well, the weather's angry, that's for sure. And there's the Miglia Rosa chasing down. And it is, of course, Astana that are doing much of the work up front. Sky, well, perhaps licking their wounds after yesterday. There'll be a few more doing exactly that before they get here to Firenze. 12 riders have finally managed to establish an escape, and we're on the climb up the Passo della Consuma as we speak. The peloton, well, they're busy chasing. The gap, it's kind of been over 3 minutes, but I suspect that the likes of Juan Manuel Garate may well affect the effectiveness of the breakers. He's only 5 minutes and 42 down in the general classification, and as a result, certainly Astana are motivated. Sky are helping out as well. And so the chase is on as we hit the climbs. Now, today, billed as one that might suit the escapees. And this is a quality bunch, to be fair. Some proper names in amongst them, and they are a threat.
Yeah, it was always a day where it had a great chance of the breakaway surviving all the way to the finish line, and that's, well, on days like that, everybody realises it, and so everybody wants to be in that break to have a chance of a stage victory, and it makes allowing the breakaway to go initially that much more difficult. Of course, Astana don't want to let anybody too close go away. It needs to be the right group of riders. The small Italian teams like Androni, Vini Fantini, etc. don't want to miss it, and so it can take a really long time. It wasn't too bad this morning. I think it was 20 kilometres before the break went, so I've seen a lot worse than that. There was a group before that of 7 which got caught back because it didn't contain anybody from Vini Fantini. They do have a guy in the break now, Peroni. Not sure how happy they're going to be with him. Doesn't seem like one of the stronger riders in the team, although he did win at a stage of the Tour de Suisse around 6 years ago. But you can tell the strength of that breakaway by the number of riders who are relatively close on the general classification. We've got Stefano Perazzi, who, as you mentioned at the start of the programme, is after those mountain points. Visconti's also there, who's currently leading that competition only just from Perazzi, so we're going to see some huge battles over these big climbs today, where there's of course more points on offer than the other 3rd and 4th category climbs that we've seen so far. We've also got the rider from Blanco, the Spaniard Galati. He's the highest up on the general classification, 5 minutes and 42 seconds down. Former winner on Mont Ventoux 4 years ago in 2009. So he's a very strong rider. As I said, Perazzi around about 7 minutes. We've also got Golas, who's only 6:22, and Petrov, the former under-23 world and time trial champion, 7 minutes and 24 seconds. So you can tell it's a very, very good quality break.
Yes, and just shy of the 40 kilometres per hour mark, with only 95.6 or 95.5 kilometres to go. 3 minutes and 43 is that gap. Rain towards the end, it's abated, you'll be pleased to know. However, as you've seen on this Giro d'Italia before, the rain clouds tend to just buzz around and play with us and the field. Here's the front of the race then. Let's talk you through them. Androni Giocattoli are here. There in the see-through rain cape is Fabio Fellini. Very young and upcoming rider. Perazzi we've mentioned from Barioni Valvoli. Blanco Havgarati, he's the best placed man here. That is Peroni of Vini Fantini. Slight mystery to us as to why he's in the escape, but there you go. Colombia have 2 riders represented here. It's kind of a Colombian sort of day, really. It may well even be more so if the sun does pop out and it becomes a little bit tropical. So watch out for Chalapud and Pantano, both of Colombia in their dark jerseys with the Colombian flag as hoops. Euskaltel Euskadi also represented. Ricardo Mestre is here in the orange jersey. You can just see him there, just off the front. Maxim Belkov is in the break from Katusha. We also have Giovanni Visconti, who is in the blue jersey, and that will rather upset I think Perazzi, who was looking for that. Come on, says Astana, wanting for some help, perhaps. So Visconti is there with the blue jersey, and he'll be looking for points. So expect when we get to the peaks and the GPMs that he does, in fact, stretch his legs just a little bit. Him and Perazzi will be bidding for it. They're separated by a very small margin. I'll check that in a moment. But Michael Golas of Amiga Pharma is also up and in the break. He's one of those close to the top with a deficit of 6 minutes and 22, not the 5:42 of Gujarati, of course. At 7 minutes and 24 is Petrov from Saxo Tinkoff, who's in the break. We have Ludvigsen from Argos Shimano, the first time that Argos has been represented in the break, I believe. Anyway, just casting our minds back, we couldn't think of anyone else. And Alessandro Peroni of Vini Fantini, who we've already mentioned. There are switchbacks here, but the roads are extremely good. The roads seem to get better the further north you head, and Florence, well, it's clearly well catered for in terms of getting people in and out of the beautiful city, of which you'll see Il Domo and the rest via helicopter shots a bit later on, provided this storm cloud just abates ever so slightly. I went to take a photograph of Florence and the panorama earlier on today, and it just looked like a rain cloud. Could have been Hull. Maybe not Hull. 94.4 kilometres to go, 4 minutes and 3. Sorry, Hull. This is the front of the race right now. They're plying their trade rather nicely. They have a belief. And of course, you can lay it down today, Dan. If you want to stretch yourself, you've got something in reserve, because there's a rest day tomorrow. So you might see somebody really having a crack. Well, why don't you just leave me alone to take this jersey? Well, he's not going to. It's as simple as that. And that's what we want. So Perazzi I think he's got the right because he's on a home mountain here to take all the points, and he's going to make Chalaput work for this. Round they come, just trying to get a clock as to how far they've got. Oh, and he's starting to swear. We'll turn the mics down. 4 minutes 32 is the gap, but these two guys are off the front of the escapees, and this is the reason why. 75 minutes to go and 50, and it's a real drag between them, and Pirazzi takes him to the barriers. Oh, and he says unfair, unfair. Goodness me. Well, the man in front can choose his line, and he kept it smooth into the corner, I think you might say, but I think he also knew that the man was there. All the arguments go on, and look at that, shake of the head, looks at the camera. Go on, get on with it, he says. Oh,
I think they should get off the bikes and sort it out properly.
Sign language. Yes, I don't think that one's in the lexicon. Here he goes up the inside. Now, did he chop him? Of course he did.
Yeah, that wasn't really on, was it?
Well, I don't know what words were issued there in either language, but I kind of get the sense of them.
Well, apologies, the road book says 88 to go is where the top of the climb is, so either that's changed or the graphics aren't quite right, so it came.
There you go. Another race for the line, and another Colombian just nicking in the other of our escapees, denying Visconti, and he's going to have some words. No, he's going to ride on and have a chat. Oh my goodness, we've got arguments all over the place here. That was Pantano, incidentally, from Colombia, who then just went to Visconti. Oh dear. Well, there's some arguments to be settled at dinner when the tin peaches come out. They may be missiles. Okay, sidecar rider, if that makes sense. The sidecar motorcycle has a chap on the back who is the counterbalance. He's counterbalancing his own machine here and doing an amazing job. You see the pace that he's managing to take into the corner. Compare it to this. There you are, if you will. So Belkov is on a mission, and I think he may well, get caught by Chalaput and Pirazzi on the second climb from home, and maybe again even on the final climb. But if the roads stay wet and it's still raining in Florence, could be Belkov's day today. There's your last mountain sprint. Pirazzi taking it ahead of Chalaput, 15, 9 and 5 for Belkov. So he enters the frame. He's down in 10th place courtesy of that one bonus climb. And Pirazzi, well, she shows you he wasn't in the frame on the first one, so he bridged over on the downhill section on the descent off the first climb, and now he's speeding away, and he's on his own. He's on his own out front.
Average speed of the race so far then dropped quite significantly since the first hour, just under 38 kilometres per hour average, probably remain fairly similar all the way to the finish. Look at the gap he's put into the other two. I think it's a combination of him being very good and them not being quite so confident on the descents, but as I mentioned, as soon as the rain started falling, this stage is going to be very much defined by the descending just as much as the climbing.
Maxim Belkov on the attack at the moment. He bridged over to two escapees who went off the nose of a 12-man escape group, an initial escape group today. But on the descents, Maxim is absolutely flying. Well, this would be a massive, massive result for him. Second presence on the Giro. And look at the way he's taking the corners. He may well beat the motorcycle here. Sometimes cyclists, if they're particularly good, can get the better of the motorcycle camera. But we've got a very, very adept pilot of the camera today by the looks of things. Into the corners, he holds himself up and then drives out of it as quick as you like. Look when he gets the power off coming out of the corners. That's the crucial thing. And he's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of space as well. Looks over his shoulder and can't quite believe how much of a gap he's posted on the two men who've been battling out for King of the Mountains points, Pirazzi and Chalaput, who are nearest to him. Valambrosa then, not taking any prisoners just yet, and it's because the road surface is so good and wide, and they've built the road well with a nice little crown in the middle, which means the water is being kept sheeted off, which is good. 6 minutes and 10 though, and Belkov is on a mission. Now he may well let Pirazzi and Chalaput get back to him, because he knows that they will pace him up the next climbs because they're looking for King of the Mountains points. So he's on a great little train, if you like. He's in the baggage car until he gets to the descents, and then he's just mugging everybody, which is brilliant. This is the Miglia Rosa group who are chasing on here, but really not that concerned. And provided the gap is manageable, they have no problems with these guys going up the road. And so it is proving. A little bit of brightness just starting to bless us. But out front, Belkov is still absolutely charging. And look at the amount of water he's kicking up. You see the little spume of water? That it looks like a little fog underneath his bicycle. That's the water that he's kicking away. This is fantastic. Well, he's absolutely motoring, and I still, on that shot, cannot see his two co-escapees. And I think we're trying to catch up with some of them. They've regrouped with the other escape group, incidentally. So there's two Colombians together. The Blanco rider is also there. Garati is in the frame. Garati 5 minutes and 42 down. But right now, Belkov is sailing into town. Goodness me, big hard on the brakes on that nasty corner, particularly lethal in these conditions. Now that's a big pinch point. We were talking about them earlier on, and there gives you a view of just how strewn out they are upon the mountain. They're scattered everywhere.
Yeah, and still a long way to go before they reach the bottom. Just having a quick look at the race route profile. 126.4 kilometres through the stages when they hit the very bottom of the descent, which is 43.6 to go. So even Belkov's got another 10 k's or so, and these guys here around about well, if they're 6 minutes behind at this speed, around about 6 k's behind as well. So it is a long descent. They're up in the clouds.
They really are. Visibility just punching in and out as they just hit the waves within the cloud, as you can see. But the Miglia Rosa group, and the Miglia Rosa is up front with his teammates. You can't see the pink jersey because he's wearing a sleeveless singlet to keep his body warm. It's almost a body warmer rather than a rain guard here. Further up the road, there is, in fact, this is at the back of the peloton. I thought it was a little bit further on than that. Hard to identify riders at the moment because everybody is in their dark rain capes. So they even look unfamiliar because as they blow up, they all generally tend to look like they're a bit bigger built than they actually are. Here's that nasty corner. Oh, look how carefully they are taking this. They've got to give it respect.
Yeah, it's especially in those little towns there, and it just sort of dropped off, didn't it, around that corner before they sort of took the hairpin. They haven't caught the other duo yet. Chalapud and Pirazzi still in front of these guys. Not sure where Feline is. Maybe he's also known as a very good descender, so it might be that he's set off in pursuit on his own, or perhaps with one other rider. Garati's here leading this quartet. I think there's at least 3 or 4 riders. Well, I know there's at least 3 riders. I think there's 4 riders possibly up the road. No time gets. As soon as we get any between the different segments on the road, we'll try and relay them to you.
Dreadful weather. I'm just looking at Belkov hugging the walls, and when you see his pace compared to those who are chasing on, it is dramatically different. And even through this town, the great thing about being by yourself is that you don't have to back up for a slower rider who might be just ahead of you in a line such as this. One touch of wheels and you're going to taste tarmac. Okay, it'll be pretty juicy today. But yeah, nobody wants to do that, and Belkov is away on this descent. Fantastic performance. That's a chasing group, incidentally, and here he is by the barriers. Not quite as dramatic as we pick up the pictures from a few moments ago when he was absolutely rocketing. There are several little ramps that he has to deal with, and he's getting close to the motorcycle, and you can see the backup car here coming through and fighting its way. You saw that vehicle there just hitting the splashes and getting into position. It's a Vittoria neutral that's coming up. So no Katusha car there just yet, but this is fantastic. They need to give him a little bit more space as well, frankly, because I'm not expecting him to fall because his bike handling skills are fantastic, but the last thing you need is a car that's hitting the brakes and then aquaplaning towards a strewn rider. Don't want any of that kind of shenanigans. So if somebody wouldn't mind telling the neutral car just to back off a bit, that would be great. Just make us feel more comfortable apart from anything else. 51.2 kilometres to go, and Astana doing a super job of chasing on. But pink jersey is here. There is our helicopter that's still up. The bird doing a great job today of keeping you in touch with pictures on this mountain. I think you can call it a mountain pass, certainly a mountain passage. And look at the pace. Just watch the trees screaming past here, just almost blurring as the motorcyclist tries to keep away. The chase is on. It's been a busy day today. Started off with a few skirmishes. Finally, a 12-man escape group made it stick. From that group, 2 riders went off and started doing battle for King of the Mountains points. Pirazzi was one from Bardiani Valvoli. We've spoken about them an awful lot during this Giro d'Italia. Great to see them here. And Colombia, Chalapud. Well, he and Pirazzi argued with each other at the line. Pirazzi just cutting him off, taking him to the barriers. Chalapud didn't like it. And indeed, when we came to the second climb, which was really close at hand, bouncing, if you like, off the initial descent, they were at it again. And as the crowds closed in, Chalapud decided to leave it very late to charge for the line. Pirazzi took those points as well. On both descents, Maxim Belkov managed to bridge back over to those two, and he has stretched his legs once again. He is a supreme descender, and he's doing an amazing job. Just look at the way he is plying the road here, and look at the vehicles around him as well. You've probably got a greater sense, if you're a casual viewer, of knowing how fast a car goes when you are looking at it on screen. And believe me, that car with the bicycles on its roof, the neutral service car, is fighting to keep up with him. He is that good. So we'll wait for an individual gap back to the escapees and indeed the peloton, because the transponders seems to have jammed just a little bit. They're doing a thumb action at the moment. Incidentally, Bradley Wiggins' time yesterday was good by the end, but the final intermediate split, I think, had to rely on somebody's thumb, because the transponder, we don't believe, was on his second bike. But there you go. The time at the line was correct. Emilia Rosa Group chasing on, 49.2 kilometres to go. 6 minutes and 19 to the is the gap back to the Emilia Rosa. That's the gap out to Belkov, who's up the road, and some struggles a little bit further behind. Ludvigsen is a big man, been part of this escape and not expected really to shine that brightly on the climbs, but he's done a good job. Good descender. He's got a lot of power to take to the end today.
Yeah, it looks like he has joined up with Filin of the Androni team. I think they're in between Pirazzi and Chalapud and the group of Garati, the quartet that we saw on our screen not so long ago, which is just behind. Got to get confirmation of that for you soon. The information on our screen says Belkov ahead of Pirazzi on his own and Chalapud on his own, but I don't think that's right. But we've, I think basically not got enough cameras to have one on all of them. But the only thing we do know for sure is that Belkov, didn't know this before, but he's an unbelievable descender in the wet conditions.
Yes, I think if it does come to a tour near his hometown, he's going to ask them to fire hose the road every day. He's doing a great job. 6 minutes and 19 he leads, and it looks like the pace has been picked up. Nibali himself, let's not forget, is a great descender, and he's part of this grouping that's saving his energies. Leader of the race, there he is on your big screen. The remnants of the escape group are there. The chase is on with Astana.
Looks like Chalapud has been caught by Filin and Ludvigsen. So in between them and Belkov at the front, presumably we've still got Pirazzi somewhere or other. So things starting to kind of come back together a little bit, and also break apart in that group of 12 that went away after 20 kilometres of this stage today. 47.9 still to go for the leader Belkov, and it's 43.6 when he gets to the foot of the descent. Couple of little rollers, and then the last climb of the day starts with...
Oh, he nearly lost it. Unclipped his shoe and counterbalanced himself going into that corner. Well, Belkov is absolutely on the limit. You can see that Astana are holding that gap at the moment to him. He's having to do all the work on his own. Let's have a look at it. Here's the clip out. You'll see it. He knows he needs something. Well, did very well. Well, that'll be a bit of a wake-up. He might knock it back a little bit. He's on an easier section now, though.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's knocked it back, does it? No, his wheels actually didn't slip. He obviously just realised that he was going slightly too fast into that corner. just almost as a safety precaution as much as anything else.
Well, the counterbalance worked for him. It works for Valentino Rossi on the motorcycles. It works for this man, Belkov. Whenever you hear his name mentioned again, you will think about this day. Even if it doesn't come good at the end in terms of a stage victory. And it's on the cards, let's tell you. But the chase is on by those behind him. But, well, wait till they get to that corner. He didn't like it, and it does not look like they're pacing up, but they're on a different part of the course, which is one of those ramps. Belkov sailed through this quite nicely. They're doing likewise. 6:25 though, it's a good old gap, you know.
Yeah, Jersey or Gesink, but not to say that they're not in there, just not right on the front of the bunch as we speak.
Well, they've announced him, and Belkov being given great respect right now as he comes through, and a press motorcycle just pulls out and unfortunately just gets itself bogged down. Get out of his way, for goodness sake. That's unfair. Well, it's all very well having the heads up shot, but not why at a moment such as this. Probably nicely framed by the crowd. Well, they pull away, and he comes to the penultimate climb today. He'll roll over the top of this, and then he'll have to go on the attack again. It's good for his legs to spin up, let's not forget, after the efforts of that. But this is the chaser, Pantano, at the moment. He sprung off the front of the group. Two other riders have also decided to join the fun, and that is Tobias Ludvigsson of Team Argos, and I believe it is Petrov from Saxo Tinkoff who has also gone. Cadell Evans, you were saying, where is he? And there is your answer.
He's motivated.
Absolutely. Yes, Cadell, you know what, he's looking great. It's like he's turned back the clock.
Yeah, he's looking fantastic since the start of the race. We keep saying, but we weren't exactly sure what to expect from the Australian rider that won the Tour de France just a couple of years ago. There's our former pink jersey wearer, Luca Paolini of Katusha. He's done well to stick with the bunch until now, but effort's starting to make himself a Betancourt, the Colombian we mentioned earlier on in our programme. Outsider for a podium spot at the end of the 3 weeks. He's lost some amount of time already, but every time the road tilts upwards, he certainly looks good.
This is still a decent advantage for Belkov up the road, just in case you were wondering. And Jarlison Pantano coming across the line in just a moment's time, but there's the gap. And don't forget, Belkov is absolutely screaming away on terrain he loves, which is wet downhills. Keeping tabs on him on a sub-monitor for you. He's giving some corners some great respect as well, because there is gullying water still on the road that he's dealing with. And yeah, the cameraman that's chasing him is having his troubles, and the crowd just opening and letting through Pantano right now from Colombia. But it's a big old gap, look at it. It's going to be just heading towards the 2-minute mark. It's coming to the top right now. And so there it is, almost 1:50 down. The clock still rolls on for the other escapees. And the way Belkov's descending right now, I'm wondering whether Pantano's got the same capabilities we're about to see. There is Pirazzi, who's come across for the minor points.
Yeah, so he increases his lead in the mountains competition, so we'll be seeing him on the podium collecting that blue jersey later on today here in Florence. The rest of them being led over by the Argos Shimano rider Ludvigsson. 4 riders left there. Garatis at the back, Feline, Petrov as well. Here's the what's left of the main bunch. Visconti just being caught from the breakaway by the bunch being led by Kanger of Astana. Looks like they've still got a couple of riders left in front of Nibali.
Here we go then. There, our leader up the front, just as we were about to join the drama of the curves that he is taking at the moment.
Pellizotti in trouble. That's Wiggins as well towards the back of the group. He's taken his turquoise jersey off. He's got another rain cape on underneath by the looks of it, but it is a very thinned down group. I can't see anybody from Garmin there, can you?
I can't. And but a lot of rain jackets to the fore.
No riders from Team Garmin, so the reigning champion rider Hesjedal was in trouble earlier, and he is not in this group now, so I can see
the master of them. You're always going to have a chance from a long way out, and I suspect this may well be the longest lone break we get in this Giro d'Italia.
Yeah, he's been away since the pretty much the top of the second climb of the day, which peaked at 106 kilometers, so he's been on his own effectively, or if he stays away to the end, it would have been around about 60 kilometres. Still got, 20 to go there?
Yeah, I think only possible on a day with lots of descents. So I think he's actually got a little bit less than 20, probably about 18 kilometres remaining. We'll get a graphic up for you in a moment. But the gap between himself and the chaser Pantano is crucial. But look at the way he's taking the curves, and he's effectively time trialing himself down here, this descent. And it may not look that quick, but just look at his legs. He's going for this. He's got one more kick up, by the way, Fiesole. It's got some nasty parts to it, but it's only a category 4 because it's short and sharp.
Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned yet today, but of course Florence is also hosting the World Championships later on this year in September, and we were hoping to use the circuit today on this stage, but in the end, due to a few works, weren't able to use it completely. There's a few small stretches from that circuit, but it will be different come September. But that's going to be the hardest World Championships we've seen for many, many years. In fact, I think since it was in Colombia in the 80s. There's Visconti on the back then, just behind Bradley Wiggins, who's still on the coattails of this group. Not too technical down this descent, a few corners at the start, but after that does straighten out somewhat before that last climb of the day.
It's still there. He's absolutely sacrificing himself today. He's doing an amazing job. You can do this on a day like today. We've got rest day tomorrow, don't forget, the first of 2 on this Giro d'Italia. And so maybe he's just able to deliver a bit more. Cadel Evans has spun up an absolute treat today. 11.7 to go. And so it comes to the descent for Belkov and almost his co-escapees.
Oh, Hejadal's on his way back again. I think I was right. I think he's got dropped. He's a great descender. I think he got back on the last descent, but he's not feeling good today, that's for sure. Tom Danielson, his teammate in the black jersey, just in front of him, is the one dropping back to give him some help. Not a great day for the Canadian, the reigning champion of this race. That's a surprise to see. He's been looking great in the first week already. Just needs to dig deep, do his best to try and get over this climb on the coattails of this group, because with his descending skills, he should be able to make it back on before the end of the stage. But and then he's got the rest day tomorrow, and he can start to come back and maybe feel better in the second week of the race.
Maxim Belkov has got a great chance to do the biggest thing of his entire career here. We keep saying that, don't we, almost on a daily basis, because there's so many surprises. Well, maybe next time when it's raining and we've got some big long descents, we won't be surprised at Maxim Belkov. Here are the guys that are trying to break his heart at the moment. Jarosson Pantano and Ludvigsson on the chase. Well, it will be something very, very special if they manage to get over and do the job here. The big Swede is on the chase for Argos Shimano. And so Colombia, we expected them to be represented today, and so they were. Chalapud, incidentally, is second place now in the King of the Mountains competition behind Perazzi. They had some arguments on the lumps earlier on. And the Miglia Rosa group with 10.7 to go, still doing a proper job for their team, and Cadel Evans never that far away from Nibali. He's nearly there. Fiesole beckons, and he's just got to get over these next couple of turns, and he is there, and it will be downhill all the way for Belkov. How close are his pursuers? We're still waiting to find out. We'll roll a clock at the top of this.
Yeah, I think he's a fair way in front of those two, and you've got to say, looking at the way he's been descending, he doesn't need to be more than 10 seconds in front of them to be able to come into the finish on his own. We have got that 1.8 kilometre drag up to the finish line, but no more than really 3, maximum 4% all the way up. Pelizzotti, the Italian champion then, amongst those being dropped on this climb, last time of the day, on what's turned out to be a much tougher day than everybody I think was expecting.
Most certainly. This man though, well, what were the expectations at the beginning of the day? I think you'd have had to be brave to pick him, but if you did, you'd have got a great price. Goodness gracious. Well, here he comes, and I think this is the last little pinch point, if I recognise it, where it's quite narrow. Yes,
right,
exactly. Right into town. He'll be onto the square, and then he'll be away. There it is, very, very narrow, and listen to the roar as they welcome him. Through he goes, the last peak of the day. Fiesole bids hello and a fond farewell. It's that quick across the square here, and down he goes. He'll enjoy that downhill section. Meanwhile, the pursuers still strewn across the mountain. The clock rolling on the bottom of your screen. Next man across the line is likely to be Pantano from Colombia, and then Belkov.
Well, Betancourt is going on the attack for AG2. Oh no, sorry, no, this is the rest of the breakaway riders. Pirati being caught. Betancourt.
No, he's done this before and he's doing it again. Rides by. There is Ludvigsen and Pantano coming into the little square of Fiesole. In they come. I think fourth man through might be this man.
Looks that way, doesn't it? Not sure exactly how much he's going to gain from attacking at this point. He's obviously feeling strong, only 150 metres before he gets to the top of the climb. I also don't know exactly how good his descending skills are. He's a fair way down in the overall classification, not least because of yesterday's time trial, but as I said before, an outsider for a podium position at the end of this 3 weeks.
Well, he's doing a good job and he's retrieving some ground as well. He'd be thinking the long game perhaps, into the square, out and back down the other side, but almost giving away 2 minutes. That is going to be the marker that's given away by some of the big names that are on the chase and more. Goodness me, through they come. That's the pink jersey group, so the gap has closed down, and the chasers, I beg your pardon, and we wait for the rest. There is one of our choppers that's going to head off to the line, Fiesole. Well, it didn't take quite as many prisoners as we thought because they'd all spread out, but very good push by Betancourt and an amazing drive by this man throughout the day, and he is on a charge. He has been for such a long time. In fact, I'm struggling to remember just exactly how long he's been alone, but it's been amazing. Belkov goes, a minute and 19 he's got from the chasers at the moment, but it'll be Betancourt that joins Ludvigsen before you know it. Look at him, has a check over his shoulder, so doesn't look where he's going as he goes through the 10k to go marker as they leave Fiesole. Well, it's very, very hard when it's like this. Belkov, Pantano and Ludvigsen, the 3, 2 and 1 on the category 4 climb. Well, there's very little left apart from individual glory at the end of today. We'll start counting back and watching the stragglers come across the line. There is a kick. They have to leave base level in Florence to come up to the Michelangelo Square that overlooks the great city. 7.2 kilometres only remaining of today.
Yeah, and he went away with 60 k's to go until the finish. A long old day in the saddle for Belkov. That group of 12 going off after 20 kilometres into the 170 kilometre stage. What a performance by the Russian. He's often seen working for his leaders. He would have done a lot of work on the front over the first week for Paolini to defend that pink jersey, and that well, he appears to have recovered from that effort, going away for a solo victory. What a week as well for hoping 9 days at least for Katusha. They came here, as I said before, without a GC rider, without a big sprinter. Don't want to count our chickens before they've hatched for Belkov, but it certainly looks odds on for him, as we've been saying for a long time now. He's going to come into the finish of a solo victory.
So, amongst this pairing, they'll be looking for second place today, will they? Well, 6.3 kilometres to go, and Ludvigsen is starting to spin this one up. Belkov presumably sits up and takes the applause into the Plaza Michelangelo. 3 to go. Over the bridge he comes.
Towards the blue sky.
Oh, and look at the clouds. I can almost hear the Electric Light Orchestra striking up right now. 2.9 to go. There is the Domo. An amazing piece of architectural integrity that was put together so many years ago. The first such dome, which was copied widely throughout the planet. Firenze, Florence, to you and me. And look at this. Well, he's built something himself today. Something quite unique, perhaps, in this year's Giro. We'll see. Belkov is heading for the line and the greatest win of his career. Turns in, takes it slowly. Camera people, please put your cameras away and let him come through. Amazing. Takes the wide line, keeping it safe. The chase is on, and it's Ludvigsen and Pantano just behind him. But Belkov is going for the line. 2.4 kilometres to go. He's got a little kick up. They check over their shoulders. They know as well that Betancourt is on the road. And the main contenders, I think they're going to ride in together. But what a punishing day it's been for Bradley Wiggins. The rain's starting to fall again as they hit the bridge. It was dry a few moments ago when the leader came through here. This is the back of the peloton right now, or the back of the main bunch, I should say. 2.1 kilometres remaining. Yes, it's amazing how the showers just come and go. It's going to seem like a very bright and sunny day for our winner today. Belkov with these two pursuers. And it's going to be Betancourt and the rest. And a big clap of thunder locally just echoes up the valleys, of which there are many in this beautiful part of the world. 1.9, he'll be on the ramp.
Yep, if we cut back to Belkov now, we'll see him just taking that left-hand turn. We're taking the final. There we go. Just as I say it. This drags up. Same percentages you can see on your screens now. It's not too difficult at all, around 3%. All the way up to the finish line. He's going to see the Flamme Rouge. What a day for him. He must be starting to be a bit like Adam Hansen now on stage 7, just realising that this is his day. He's done it. He'll have time when he crosses the line to really appreciate what he's achieved.
Well, Hansen had his company, didn't he, for a much longer time than Belkov had. 1.5 kilometres only, and there on the right-hand side of your screen, the stunning city of Florence. Part of the Grand Tour, of course, of old, where the rich and the famous and those not financially challenged would tour the world and go to its most beautiful places. Florence was on that. Poets, painters, and the rich came here in abundance. Well, one man who has written a story, and this is going to live long for him. What a story it is that he has told today. Done most of it on his own. There are the gaps for you, and you can be confident that he will bring this home, and he knows it. He's starting to smile. The radio, I think he's just pulled it out actually, as it's probably getting a bit loud with them screaming, go, go, go. So he takes out, he unplugs himself to enjoy this on his own without the cat calling from inside his team car. That is Race Direction behind him, incidentally, who are just making sure that he comes in safely. 900 metres, and the pain, well, they won't feel any right now. These guys, well, they've got their cards marked, I think, by a charging Betancourt just behind for AG2R. 800 metres until he gets into the plaza with Michelangelo's David overlooking the city of Florence. And look at that, 4.5 hours in the saddle. The time just clicks over. He won't care about that. He's going to feel like he's on top of the world in just a few moments' time. And these the nearest men to him. I suspect it's going to be Ludvigsen that does the job right at the end with a little bit more power, but Betancourt's on a charge. And the Miglia Rosa group, they're all together. Yeah,
being led by Escatel at the moment. Sammy Sanchez is the rider in 6th position in the bright orange. Cadel Evans in 4th place there, led by Morabito. Most of the favourites still there, so a lot of toing and froing between the big name riders in the latter stage of today. And it's only Hejidal actually that's missing. But let's celebrate this man's victory, Jan.
Well, the hoardings tell you that he is so close to home. 350 metres only, and the applause is for this man. A more braver descent that in the wet you'd be hard pushed to find. He rode the wet conditions like a genius, and this day belongs to him. 200 metres only remain for Maxim Belkov to hit the line. Well, he hit everyone else for 6 today, did he not? A nod from the race director to say enjoy yourself, and he still looks back to see what the gap is, still not sure. Well, he never did look back, did he? And look at this, 25 metres to go. The line beckons, and Belkov it is that destroys the day. He realises what he's just done. Chase is on then. Who will it be? Well, Betancourt's joined in, has he? Yes, he has. And he's got some more pace. And Ludvigsen's going to run out here. Pantano is there. Still a little bit to go before the line. And Betancourt might get the runners-up spot on the day. Hoardings are here. Well, this is a great late push by Betancourt. He's caught his quarry. He's going to be the runner-up on the day, Betancourt. Rounds Pantano right at the very end. How's about that for cheeky? Showing his credentials, fighting spirit, I think you might say. Thank you very much, he says. Crosses himself. Seconds is his deficit on Betancourt. Pantano in 3rd place, and Ludvigsen comes across the line right now. And there is the day's winner. Chapeau, sir. Well, he'll start locking up. Meanwhile, further back down the order, Cadel Evans comes across the line. And thankfully, for many, today not as bad as it could have been. And it could have been very bad, let's not forget. There's Paolini, who wore the leader's jersey for so many days at the top of this Giro d'Italia. Still with 450 metres to go. There's a lot of riders strewn out along the mountain, I've got to tell you. And Ryder Hijadal is with them, with this group. Ryder Hijadal giving away more time today. It's been relayed back, but that won't have been good for him. The Canadian struggling today in the wet. Still 200 metres, I beg your pardon, to go. And it's the clock that's the cruelest thing on a day such as today. If some of your co-favourites have made it home better than you, and they have. Hijadal comes to the line then, tries to just grab any second he can, but it will be 2 minutes and 9 seconds for him in deficit of the day's winner. Wow. Well, the sun comes out to illuminate the Grand Duomo here in Florence, and here's your results. Belkov takes it by a gap of 44 seconds ahead of Betancourt, Pantano and Ludvigsen. Colombians to the fore then. Cadel Evans leading home the big names. De Luca just behind in Sausti, who wore that jersey during the time trial. Sant'Ambrogio at 1 minute and 3, along with Caruso and Nibali, and a whole host of other riders as well. Goodness me, what a day we have had. So with 1 minute and 3, Bradley Wiggins was amongst that group that crossed the line. Got to tell you though, unfortunately Ryder Hijadal was not. Here's your stage winner. Wow.
Grazie Paolo, ti assicuro, c'è stato un autentico boato quando
biggest thing that's happened to this man on a bicycle, and you've witnessed it live right here. What a pleasure to see. All that tension locked in and released. Don't hurt your hand, for goodness sake. Crossing himself as he came to the line. I don't think he believed he'd won, but Betancourt from AG2R, the radio would have told him otherwise. Pantano, I think, smiling because he thinks that Betancourt thought he had won. What a day and what a theatre. It turned out to be a dream for this man. Well, we'll have a chat with him in just a short while. And we're hearing that our winner today, Maxim Belkov, is just too cold to talk. I'm not surprised. He's probably in a little bit of shock as well. So Maxim Belkov is our stage winner, albeit not available for a chat. And yes, you may think you generate an awful lot of heat out there, but don't forget, he did not stop to put on any rain cape. He faced the rain, the wind, and indeed faced down absolutely everybody out there, didn't he? And that last little bit of tension that he allowed himself before this. Don't damage your bike, it's a special one. There is Betancourt, and I'm not sure that he didn't think that he'd won this one. I'm just seeing if he's got an earpiece in. Well, he has. Maybe just the fact that he put some time between himself and the chasers was enough for that celebration. Well, another great day of racing. The rain simply added to it today, I suspect. Although the riders probably wouldn't say that. Glorious. Well, it's the rest day tomorrow, so the riders were able to put in that extra ounce or two of effort. Boy, did they deliver. Ludvigsen across the line today in 4th place. And it was Cadel Evans yet again who just is quite happy to lead in the chase. There he is coming in with Insausti, who'd had the jersey. De Luca, of course. Nibali in the pink jersey. Sanchez was also there. And now Jasink also at hand. So was Bradley Wiggins, who'd fought his way back on. But unfortunately, Ryder Ejidal finishing further down the order today. And in fact, he's given away 1:06 to the main contenders. His finish time, 2:09. The main contenders 1:03 down. Poor old Ryder. It wasn't his day. Here's your overall standings then. Nibali is tops. Cadel Evans at 29 seconds. Jasink at 1:15. Bradley Wiggins, brave Sir Brad, doing it again, staying 1:16 down. Had to fight hard. Scarponi in the frame. In now, also there for Sky, the Colombian. Sant'Ambrosio, 2:43, so within that group as well. Niemiec is there. So is Iran. And Tanel Kanget at 3:02. He did so much work today on behalf of Nibali. Ryder Ejidal is now 3:11 down. High mountains to come. He's going to have to work extraordinarily hard. That's quite a deficit at this point. Santa Remita down there in 4:50 off the pace. Samuel Sanchez 3:43 in 14th place. In Saudi, you'd had that jersey and then had an unfortunate individual time trial. Lost 4 minutes, but is 3:36 down. What a day of racing.